Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Policy Watch with your host Kriti Mishra. India has a new draft policy for the Arctic. A first of its kind initiative, the policy has been put out for comments from the public. It articulates India's desire to push the frontiers of science forward. The draft document outlines 5 pillars of India's Arctic policy: scientific research, economics and human development, connectivity, global governance and international cooperation, and development of Indian human resource capabilities. India seeks to play a constructive role in the Arctic by leveraging its vast scientific pool and expertise in the Himalayan and polar research. India also aims to contribute to ensuring that as the Arctic becomes more accessible, its resources are harnessed sustainably and in consonance with best practices formulated by bodies such as the Arctic Council. India became an observer in the Arctic Council for the first time in 2013, and its membership was renewed for another 5-year term in 2018. And for deeper insights on the topic, I'm joined by Dr. M. Rajivan, Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences, and Mr. Navtej Sarna, former ambassador. Welcome to Rajya Sabha Television, gentlemen. Dr. Rajivan, coming to you first. India regards the Arctic as the common heritage of mankind. Objectives and highlights of the draft Arctic policy.
Yeah, I'm very happy to say, inform you that Indian government has come out with the Arctic policy, and it was pending for many years. And as you told, that Arctic policy has 5 pillars: science and research, economic and human development, transportation and connectivity, governance and international cooperation, and national capacity building. As all of us know, that Arctic is very important to all of us. There are many reasons. One is it controls the climate. It's one of the 3 poles: Arctic, Antarctic, and Himalayas. So Arctic climate really controls the global climate. And Indian monsoon has a very good relationship with Arctic climate variability. Anything changes in the Arctic climate can really influence Indian monsoon. Also, we know that the Arctic sea ice is melting because of global warming. It's almost melting about 12% per decade. It's a very alarming decline of the sea ice, and that can have a lot of repercussion in terms of monsoon variability and also the extreme weather events over this country. So India has been doing a lot of work in Arctic research, especially in Norway. We have set up a research station in Svalbard. In 2008, the first expedition to Arctic, we have done it in 2007. And 2008, we have set up this observatory, and we have been doing a lot of work both on atmospheric, oceanographic, and also biogeochemistry. And our institute in Goa, it's the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research, NCPOR Goa, is mainly responsible for doing this Arctic expedition as well as doing research. But many other universities in this country, almost 23 institutes in this country, are also involved. And also the understanding the Arctic climate variability is very important, and understand our monsoon. And also it will give some clues about how our Himalayas climate is doing. Will it change in the coming years? Especially the Himalayan glacier melt will have is to be studied in a good way, and this Arctic research will really give some clues on how our Himalayan glaciers will melt in the coming years. So there is a lot of scientific importance. So not only the science, so we also need to really understand Arctic is also consists of many resources, both living as well as non-living resources. And our climate models very clearly says that by 2050, Arctic in summer, Arctic sea will be without any sea ice. So Arctic sea will be completely open for ship route. So the transportation and connectivity will improve by 2050. So there are a lot of opportunities for all of us. And also, as I told, that it consists of a lot of resources, both living and non-living, hydrocarbons, for example, minerals, for example. So we need to really engage much more than what we are doing science. Science also, of course, we need to really engage more. But in addition, we need to really engage in other activity. That's why this policy paper very clearly says that what are the activities in which India has to take the lead. India, as you said, that India is a status of observer. We have to really play an active role in Arctic.
Absolutely, sir. We'll just talk about the aspect of climate change in just a bit. And as you said, that we have to enhance our engagement. Ambassador Sarna, India's engagement with the Arctic began in February 1920 when it signed the Svalbard Treaty in Paris. Its polar research experience began in 1981 when the first scientific expedition to Antarctica was undertaken. India launched its first scientific expedition to the Arctic in the year 2007, as Sir pointed out. Subsequently, the Indian research station Himadri was dedicated in the year 2008. Take us through the significance of the Arctic region for India.
Well, thank you for having me here, and pleasure to be here with the secretary. I somehow been involved in this in the years past, and particularly when we actually launched our campaign from MEA and Earth Sciences for becoming an observer to the Arctic Council. The realization at that time was that India has fundamental interests in the Arctic, and India also has, as you have pointed out, historical interests in polar research and very good experience in polar research. Historically, we did sign the Svalbard Treaty in 1920, as you said, as a British dominion. And it's interesting that, if, as an Indian, you still have fishing and hunting rights if you go to Svalbard. So it's a bit of a distance, but technically that is still the position. Our experience in the Antarctica prepared us for Arctic, and that is why we pitched for an observer status. That was the last window open to get an observer status in 2013, and we managed it. And that is the only kind of status that is available, because the members are the countries who have territories within the Arctic. Now, a very important distinction here has to be made with the Antarctica. The Antarctica is truly the global commons, while the Arctic is not, except for the areas which are not belonging to anybody. The point is, there is no overarching treaty covering the Arctic. There is an Antarctica treaty, very successful treaty. So here there are countries which have long coastlines, which have continental shelves and exclusive economic zones in the Arctic, and they have claims. So this complicates the strategic competition for resources. Nevertheless, given all that, we have managed an observer status, and our interests, as the secretary pointed out, are multifaceted. One is climate, and what we can learn from research on climate, because it has direct impact on us. We have a long coastline. We are subject to the changes in the monsoon, and of course the impact on the third pole, which is the Himalayas. So whatever research we do in the Arctic is going to be very, very relevant. Therefore, when we pitched for observer status, our main plank was scientific and not commercial. Nevertheless, there are other areas of activity. There is the economic and commercial activity in shipping, in fishing, in resources. The area is really resource rich. It has about 22% of the underground unexplored energy deposits of the world, oil and gas. It has about 25% of the world's rare earths, and mostly in Greenland. And of course, the important thing is that once the Arctic route, the Northern Sea route opens up, which was expected by 2050 by given models, then it will cut the distance from Europe to Japan, from Rotterdam to Yokohama, by 40%. And that's a huge shipping success. Now, how much of this India can directly undertake is an open question. We don't even have an icebreaker. But we need to be aware of it, and we need to participate as we can in the investments that are done in Russia, and in other countries, and see what role, what benefits we can derive out of it. There is also the biodiversity aspect. It's rich in biodiversity, and the biodiversity species are under threat. And this is going to impact species all over the world because everything in a way is connected. So this has got economic, commercial importance. It has got climate importance, and it has got strategic importance because China is into the game in a very big way. And whatever China gains or does inevitably changes equations, changes the strategic equations with India. So we have to be very much aware of that and see what we can do.
Ambassador, you made very important points there. We'll just talk about our strategic interests in a bit. But talking about the climate change, it is an important dimension of India's scientific research in the Arctic. Dr. Rajeevan, studying the impact of climate change in the Arctic can improve response mechanisms in other parts of the globe as well. Now, the atmosphere is warming faster in the Arctic, whereas the ocean is warming faster in the Indian Ocean. How do we understand causative mechanisms to predict outcomes?
Yeah, that is true. The Arctic sea ice is melting as I told in the beginning, and Indian Ocean also is warming. So Arctic and in the Arctic Ocean and Arctic region and Indian monsoon has a very good relationship. Any changes in the Arctic Ocean, Arctic region can have a large impact through the middle latitude region, especially Europe and Russia. We call normally as a middle latitude waveguide. Through waveguide, then these weather systems can really influence Indian region. And we have recently seen many incidents in which many extreme weather events are experienced both in Pakistan, northern parts of Pakistan, as well as in northern parts of India, which we can directly link to Arctic region. And the Arctic sea ice melt also has an implication over especially extreme weather events, especially over Europe. So all these things are linked. So Arctic region is very crucial. So we need to really understand how Arctic region is really changing in terms of climate. And as I will tell you another 2-3 points that India is developing a Earth system model to develop future climate scenarios for the whole globe. In which we use a climate model which we indigenously developed within our country. And there the sea ice is an important component. Sea ice is very important component. And we don't understand how sea ice dynamics works in the model. So we need really a lot of observations, especially from Arctic, and which can really help us to improve our sea ice component of the climate model. That's number one. And also we are trying to engage not only in Svalbard, as I said that he also said that we have a research station at Svalbard, but we are trying to expand our activities. We have been given a kind of support by Canada. So they also have a similar kind of research station in northern parts of Canada, which they have given us some permission to go and work there. And unfortunately, last year we could not do it because it's COVID. But I am sure this year we will be definitely going to the research station of Canada and establishing some kind of instruments and research facility there. And also countries like Sweden, etc., and Russia also are coming forward to work closely with us on Arctic. So there is a lot of improvement in terms of scientific engagements with the Arctic countries, which we need to really persist and expand also. He was talking about, Mr. Navajit Sarna was talking about the Polar Research Vessel. We don't have an Arctic ship which can go to Arctic. And I'm happy to say that Ministry of Earth Science has recently taken an initiative to buy a Polar Research Vessel, and one round of tender document was prepared and it was done, but somehow we could not push it, but that is in our agenda. We will push it at the earliest. So we are trying to expand our scientific activities, engagement in Arctic, and not only with Norway, but also other countries. So we need to, and also internally within India, we need to really develop more capacity development. That is more important. We have in our NCPR, we hardly have some 7-8 scientists who are working on Arctic. So we need to really engage more scientists within our institutions in India, especially in universities and other academic research institutes. And that is also a good agenda point which we really are focusing.
Absolutely, sir. We have to expand our scientific engagement. But talking about our strategic interests, Ambassador Sarna, you also mentioned about China. Now, in January 2018, China declared itself a near-Arctic state and put out a white paper as well. Russia's interest in the area is vital and has been linked to its economic and geostrategic interests. How do you see India's position in this geopolitical ring?
Well, we are not there on the scene, and we are not even a near Arctic Arctic country. The dominant power at the moment is Russia. It has 24,000 kilometers of Arctic coastline, and it knows the advantages to that. It has come out earlier in 2020 with a very detailed Arctic strategic policy, which is worth reading. And it aims to really take advantage of the opening of the Northern Sea route by developing its ports, by charging countries of traveling through it, because it actually regards the Northern Sea route as falling within its territorial waters. And this is not the position that has been taken by the United States. So there's a conflict opening up right there. And it is keen to develop the entire northern front of Russia on the basis of this route. We must also remember that 50% of the population falling in the Arctic region falls in Russia. So they really have huge stakes there. Now, China is working with Russia. China is investing very heavily in ports, in energy, in underwater infrastructure, in research, in exploring for mineral deposits. So China's put up a lot of money. China regards this as part, they call it the Polar Silk Route. So they have linked it to their Belt and Road Initiative, and our moves towards a polar vessel are moving. They've been on the table for a long time. And I think ultimately we will have to see how we can take advantage of the strategic opening. I think we can be beneficiaries of the trade routes. There has been talk by President Putin of Vladivostok to Chennai route, and I think that can be something which opens us for us and lessens the problems that we may face going through the Suez route. So if the Vladivostok and that area starts getting a lot of trade from Europe, onward trade from there to India is possible. So we will be able to take some amount of advantage of it. And certainly we have to make our presence felt. We are a country with research facilities, capabilities, and I think we have to make our presence felt. At the moment, I think our strongest plank is the scientific plank. And the work that we have done in Himadri as well as in the Antarctica, and I'm glad to hear that we are now expanding it. I think this new Arctic policy of the government is a very welcome piece of paper. It will give a direction and move towards a whole of the government approach. Otherwise, what happens is that these things are left to one ministry or one department, yes. And it's very difficult for either the Earth Sciences Ministry or for the External Affairs Ministry to be always present in every meeting and to cover all the working groups and to do it at a senior level. It's simply not possible. And we have to, so if with a whole of government approach and a backing from the top with a policy which would be approved by the cabinet, I think it's a good direction that we need to get involved by the energy ministries, by the defense ministry, by the commerce ministry, by the shipping ministry. So I think all these, and of course by the environment ministry, very important. So all these people have to get into the act. And because, the observer status that we have is not forever.
Yes.
This has to be renewed every few years. And it has to be renewed showing the work that you have done in those years. Because you just can't go and be present at a very junior level and not do anything, because then you are in danger of losing your observer status.
Absolutely, sir. And you said that we need a cohesive approach, and also an important point that you made, that we have to make our presence felt. Let me take that to Dr. Rajivan. Dr. Rajivan, the Arctic is characterized with low digital connectivity. Now, India's expertise in providing remote areas with effective satellite-enabled communication and digital connectivity can potentially mitigate the shortfall. What's the way ahead for India, sir?
Yeah, that is true. So we need to really connect the Arctic in a better way using digital technology. And ISRO had a plan to set up their satellite receiving stations in Arctic, which we could not complete it. And because Antarctic, they have the satellite receiving stations. And because once we put the receiving stations in the polar region, we can expect to receive more data, especially polar orbiting satellites, and that can be received in India very quickly. So we are trying to do that. ISRO is trying to do that in Arctic also. And in terms of observations, even though the digital technology can be used from India itself, but we need to go there and take observations. So that is more important. So our presence, so expeditions are very important. At present, we are doing the Svalbard station only for 180 days in a year. Only the summer period we go there and spend time, but also very few people. So we need to really enhance that period. So we should do throughout the year, annual, throughout 365 days, we should be there. Number one. Number two is we also should really send more people. And also the expansion from Norway, we need to really expand the activities to Canada, Sweden, etc. also. And so we need to really engage more. And Arctic Council, we also engage in terms of many scientific activities. They have so-called working groups and different working groups, scientific working groups. And we are taking up a lot of research projects in at least in three working groups. One is Arctic Contaminates Action Program, Arctic Monitoring and Assessment Program, and the third one was Conservation of Arctic Flora and Fauna Program. All these three program working groups, we are really getting engaged very actively, and we need to really sustain and do much more in these working groups. As Mr. Sarnaves has very clearly told, we need to really show our presence and active role to sustain our observer status in the Arctic Council. That is more important. So we need to really take a proactive role instead of just a passive role. Let's sit here and somebody asks us to do something, you take up the work. So we need to really engage a little more in a proactive role. That's my comments.
All right, sir. Before we end this conversation, closing comments from both my panelists. Ambassador Sarna, India's Arctic potential.
I think our potential is huge. Our presence can contribute a lot. We are not seen as a predatory power, which is coming there for resources and for commercial benefit, which somehow seems to be the impression that China is given. We have good cooperative relations with all the countries, including with the United States as well as with Russia. So we have a potential to invest our resources, our people, our experts, our professionals, our scientists on both sides. And one aspect that we have not talked about is something which India has the strength to do. It is dealing and making relationships with the indigenous people of the area. There are about 40 different groups of indigenous people living in the Arctic region who are very sensitive about the changes in their habitat, in their environment, in their normal economic activities. At the same time, they want to be involved in whatever development is taking place. So there's a very delicate balance that has to be achieved there. And often these indigenous people are at odds with their own governments. Now, India is something which I've been, I've been trying to push this all along, is that, we have to reach out to these groups and we have to see how we can, given our own experience of a multi-ethnic, multi-religious kind of society, how we can deal with the sensitivities of these people and contribute our projects to them, because that will certainly build our goodwill. So we have the scientific potential, we have the economic opportunity, and we have the goodwill with all the partner countries there to build on it. And we have the history of our scientific research. So I think this policy is something which is timely, and this needs to be taken full advantage of. And we have to upgrade our participation to the extent that we can, because this is the time because in a few years, it'll be a crowded place. and
Yes.
it will be an open place.
Absolutely. You made very important points there that we have economic opportunities, we have scientific potential, and we are not seen as a predatory power. On that note, thank you so much for joining us. So, India is well poised to utilize experience within its vast human resources to contribute towards the study of the Arctic and the preservation of its unique biodiversity. India believes that any human activity in this fragile region should be sustainable, responsible, and transparent with respect for international laws. India, therefore, looks forward to increasing its engagement with this vital region and its governing bodies as a responsible partner. That's all we have for you in this edition of Policy Watch. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha TV.